My name's Tyler, I'm 29, and if I'm being honest, I've always felt like the odd one out in my family. Not because I'm some black sheep or wildly rebellious, just because I don't really fit into their idea of what family is supposed to be. I'm not loud, I don't drink like a frat bro, and I don't think group sarcasm counts as emotional bonding. Still, every year I try. I show up to birthdays, sit through the awkward small talk, and contribute to the family group chat, even though half the time I feel like I'm texting into a void. It's always been like this. I'm Tyler the overthinker, or Tyler the buzzkill, depending on who you ask. My older brother Kyle once said I could find something negative to say about Disneyland, and everyone laughed like it was the funniest thing ever. What they don't realize is, I don't complain, I explain. I ask questions. I like structure. But in my family, if you're not just nodding and going along, you're difficult. Anyway, this all started about a month ago. I noticed the family group chat had gone a little quiet. Not unusual, honestly. We usually only get bursts of activity when someone wants money for a birthday party or is trying to plan a group event. So when the chat suddenly lit up with beach emojis and messages like "can't wait" and "gonna be lit," I was confused. I scrolled up, thinking maybe I missed something. But there was no mention of planning, no voting on dates. No, "Hey Tyler, are you free this weekend?" Just pure celebration. My cousin Megan even posted a picture of a massive beachfront Airbnb with the caption, "Look what I booked." Now, here's the thing, I work remotely. I make good money. And for the last few years, I've been the one footing the bill for our family get-togethers. Not because I was asked, but because when I didn't offer, I get those backhanded comments like, "Some of us don't have tech jobs," or "Not everyone can afford avocado toast and therapy tie." I never complained. I just paid. So, seeing that they'd booked this trip without even mentioning it to me, that stung. I didn't say anything at first. I just watched the chat roll on with sunscreen recommendations, carpool plans, jokes about who was going to burn first. For a full day, I said nothing. Then, out of nowhere, I got a text from my sister. Not even in the group chat, just a side text. It read, "Hey, just a heads up, we figured you wouldn't be into the trip. Didn't want the planning to stress you out like last time. You can still come if you want, but we figured you'd just complain like always." I just stared at the screen for a while. Complain like always. That line stuck to me like gum on the bottom of my shoe. Last time, I asked about splitting the cost fairly and suggested a better location with less traffic. That was me complaining. I didn't respond. I didn't trust myself not to say something I'd regret. Instead, I took a deep breath and went back to the chat. I scrolled all the way back up to the original post with the Airbnb listing. And that's when I saw it. The reservation had been made using my Airbnb account. Now, a few years back, I let Megan use my account to book a birthday cabin. She said she didn't want to create her own and asked if she could just use mine. I didn't think much of it. I trusted her. But apparently, she never logged out. She just kept using it. And because the charges always went to the family card I set up for group events, one I created back when we tried splitting costs for a ski trip, no one questioned it. I opened my Airbnb dashboard. Sure enough, there it was. A 7-day beach reservation under my name. Paid with the family card, which I fund. All without a word to me. And the worst part? No one thought to mention it. They didn't even try to lie and say I'd been included. They just decided I wouldn't want to go, and then used my account and money anyway. I don't remember feeling angry. Not right away. Just deeply, deeply tired. Tired of always being the one who just overreacts whenever I point out how messed up something is. Tired of being told I should lighten up while they quietly cross line after line, expecting me to play along. I didn't respond to Megan. I didn't text anyone. I didn't blow up the group chat. I waited. I waited for 3 weeks as they gushed over which floaties to bring and who would bring the best snacks. I even answered when someone asked if the family card was still active for groceries, just to keep appearances. I waited until the very last day before the cancellation window closed. Then, I canceled the entire reservation. No warning, no drama, just one click. I didn't even have to explain it to Airbnb, because technically, it was my account and my money. And the second it processed, I removed the family card from the account entirely. Then I sent one single message to the group chat. No anger, no accusation, just trips canceled. I'll let you all complain this time. That was this morning. By noon, I had 14 missed calls, 2 voice messages from my mom in full meltdown mode. and a group chat that was now exploding with frantic messages like, "What the heck? Who canceled this?" And Tyler? Kyle texted me directly asking if I'd lost my mind. Megan, to her credit, hasn't said a word yet. Probably still trying to figure out how I found out. I haven't answered anyone. Not yet. But I'm sitting here with my phone buzzing every few seconds, watching the chaos unfold. And for the first time in a long time, I don't feel like the odd one out. I feel in control. And that's when the doorbell rings. I look up from my phone, confused, because no one ever just shows up unannounced. But when I open the door, it's my mom. Now, to be clear, my mom showing up at my apartment is about as rare as snow in July. She hates driving in the city, says my place is too modern, and always complains that my building smells like chemicals. So we're standing on my doorstep, sunglasses still on, arms crossed over a floral beach tote. Isn't just surprising. It's surreal. She doesn't wait for me to say anything. "We need to talk," she says sharply, like she's the one holding the moral high ground. Then, without waiting for an invitation, she brushes past me and walks inside like she owns the place. I shut the door slowly behind her. My apartment is spotless, because I'd just done laundry and vacuumed the night before, but she still manages to wrinkle her nose like I'd left raw chicken out on the floor. I stay silent as she circles my kitchen like she's inspecting it, then finally turns to me, placing her bag on the counter like she's moving in. "Tyler," she begins, tone tight. "What exactly is going on?" "Megan said the Airbnb got canceled. The trip is tomorrow." I fold my arms, leaning back against the counter. "You're asking me that?" She blinks like I've spoken in another language. "Yes, of course I'm asking you. The reservation was under your account, wasn't it?" "Yup," I say. "It was." She shifts. "Well, then, why would you do something so childish? Everyone's panicking. Your aunt already took the whole week off, and Kyle's kids were so excited." I stare at her for a beat before responding. "And you all decided I wouldn't be invited because..." She rolls her eyes. "Oh, come on, Tyler. You always get stressed with these things. You never want to go. You pick apart the logistics, and then you end up just sitting in a chair on your phone. We figured we'd spare you the hassle. That's all." "You mean you figured you'd make a decision about me, for me, without actually speaking to me?" "Don't twist my words," she snaps. "You always do this. You always act like you're being excluded, like you're smarter, when all we've ever tried to do is make things easier for you." I can't help but laugh at that short, humorless. Easier for me? By using my account? My money? Booking a whole trip and not even telling me until after it was paid for? "Well, Megan didn't think you'd mind." "Oh, Megan didn't think I'd mind?" I repeat, voice rising slightly. "Megan used my Airbnb login from 2 years ago, booked a $4,000 house on a card that I fund. Didn't tell me, and you're seriously here trying to make it sound like I'm the problem?" She bristles. "You didn't have to cancel the reservation. You could have come. We said you could still come." After I found out by accident, I cut in. After the group chat had already been making plans for 2 days. After Megan texted me that you all figured I'd complain like always. That's what this is really about, isn't it? You've all made up your minds about me, so I'm just the ATM with the bad attitude. She flinches at that, visibly, then softens. "Tyler, honey, that's not how we see you." I raise an eyebrow. "Really?" There's a beat of silence. Then she quietly says, "Well, maybe we haven't always included you the way we should have." That's the closest thing I've gotten to an apology from her in a decade. But it still feels hollow. Like someone caught doing something wrong, not someone who's genuinely sorry. I walk over to the fridge, take out a bottle of water, and pop the cap. "So now what?" I ask, glancing at her over the rim. "You expect me to rebook it? Cover it again? Act like nothing happened?" Her lips purse tightly. "Tyler, you know they won't be able to afford something that nice last minute. The cancellation ruined everything. Everyone's upset. Kyle's kids were crying. I'm not responsible for everyone else's choices," I say. "You all made it clear I wasn't part of this trip. You made your plans. Now deal with the fallout." She glares at me like I've slapped her. "This is your family, Tyler." I look her straight in the eye. And maybe my family should have remembered that before treating me like I wasn't. She stands still for a moment, just watching me, like she's trying to figure out what to say next. But I think she finally realizes there's nothing left to say. Without another word, she picks up her floral tote and walks slowly toward the door. As she opens it, she turns slightly over her shoulder. They're going to be really hurt. I nod once. Maybe next time, they'll think before they use someone and leave them out. The door closes with a soft click. I sit back down at my desk. My phone's still buzzing. Dozens of unread messages from Kyle, from Megan, from cousins who hadn't spoken to me in months suddenly pretending like they're just checking in. But I don't answer. Instead, I log into the Airbnb account, change the password, and permanently delete the family payment method, just in case. And right as I'm about to close my laptop, a message pops up from my brother. One sentence. We need to talk. In person. I stare at it for a long time, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Then, just as I'm about to reply, there's another knock at the door. The knock this time is heavier. Not urgent exactly, but firm, like whoever's behind it isn't planning on leaving until I open. I glance at my phone again. Still no reply from me. Still a dozen texts. Kyle's last message sits at the top of the screen. We need to talk. In person. Of course it's him. I walk to the door slowly, not entirely sure what version of my brother is waiting on the other side. The charming one who schmoozes his way through work meetings and family dinners? Or the one who once called me emotionally constipated in front of a group of strangers because I didn't want to do karaoke at his birthday? I open the door, and sure enough, it's Kyle. Shirt wrinkled, holding an iced coffee, looking like he's trying really hard to pretend he's not upset. His sunglasses are perched on his head, and he gives me a tight, fake smile. Hey, he says. I don't move. Hey, can I come in? I sigh, step aside, and let him in. He walks in like he owns the place, just like Mom did. Straight to the kitchen, doesn't ask. He sets the coffee on the counter and leans against it, arms folded. For a moment, he says nothing. Then, you didn't have to do that, man. I closed the door behind him. Yeah, I did. No, seriously. You could have just talked to us. Instead, you blew everything up. I raise an eyebrow. Talk to you? You mean the same people who planned an entire beach trip without me and only remembered I existed when the Airbnb confirmation showed my name? He exhales through his nose. Okay, yeah, that wasn't great. But Megan was the one handling it. And you always make things complicated. I tilt my head. Complicated? He nods like he's making some grand point. Yeah, you overthink everything. You ask questions no one wants to answer. You make every plan feel like a board meeting. We just wanted this to be chill, you know? You wanted it to be chill, I repeat. So you left me out and spent my money. That wasn't the plan, he says quickly. Megan didn't realize the card was still connected. She just thought it was an old account. And by the time we figured it out, we assumed you'd say no anyway, like always. You assumed. You didn't ask. You didn't include. You didn't even pretend. Kyle groans and runs a hand through his hair. Why does it always have to be so dramatic with you? I laugh, short and bitter. You think I'm being dramatic? You're the ones panicking because your free vacation disappeared. I'm the one who's been sidelined and gaslit like that's somehow my fault. He glares at me. Don't throw around words you don't even understand. Oh, I understand perfectly, I snap. I understand that you all use me when it's convenient. I understand that you rely on my money but treat me like an outsider. I understand that the moment I draw a boundary, I become the problem. Kyle stares at me for a beat. Then, his tone shifts. Cold. Calculated. So what? You're just gonna ice us out over this. Depends, I say. Are you here to apologize? Or to guilt trip me into fixing your mess? His jaw tightens. I'm here to find a solution. I shake my head. Then you're still not getting it. He steps closer, suddenly more intense. Do you even care what this is doing to the family? Aunt Jen's threatening to cancel Thanksgiving now. Everyone's pointing fingers. You're turning everything into chaos. No, I say quietly. You did that. When you decided I was just the wallet with legs. Kyle goes silent. I let it hang for a second. Let him sit in it. He's not used to me pushing back. Not like this. I can see it in his eyes. He expected me to cave. To say fine, I'll book something else. To apologize for making things difficult. But I don't. Instead, I walk to the counter, pick up his untouched coffee, and hand it to him. I think we're done here. He takes it reluctantly. His jaw works like he wants to say something else, something cutting, probably, but then he just turns toward the door. I'll tell them you said no, he mutters. I shrug. Tell them whatever helps you sleep. He walks out without another word. This time, I don't even wait for the door to fully close before locking it. I stand there for a while, heart pounding not from fear, but from adrenaline. It feels like something's cracked open inside me. Some pressure valve I didn't even realize had been tightened for years. And just when I think it's all over, that I can finally sit down and let the dust settle, my phone buzzes again. This time, it's not from the group chat. It's from Grandpa. Just 2 words, call me. And suddenly, everything shifts. Because Grandpa never texts, never calls. He's old school, landline and letter in the mail old school. And if he's getting involved, this might be far from over. I stared at the message for a long time. Call me. Coming from anyone else, it wouldn't have made my stomach sink. But Grandpa? He doesn't do drama. He doesn't involve himself unless it's serious. He's the kind of man who will sit through 3 screaming matches at Thanksgiving without blinking, then calmly say something like, "Pass the gravy." If he's reaching out, it means something's gone too far. Or, more likely, he thinks I've gone too far. I sat on the edge of my couch, phone in hand, thumb hovering over the dial button. There was a time when I looked up to him more than anyone. He'd been a quiet force in the family, a man of very few words, but those words always landed hard. I used to spend summers at his lake house when I was a kid. Those were some of the few moments where I actually felt seen, heard. Not the butt of some passive-aggressive joke, not the uptight one. Just me. I don't know when that changed. Maybe it didn't. Maybe I did. I took a breath and pressed call. He picked up on the first ring. Tyler. His voice was the same as always, low, slow, deliberate. "Hey, Grandpa." Long pause. Then, "What's going on?" "I assume you heard," I said, trying not to sound defensive. "About the beach trip. The cancellation." "I did," he said evenly. "From your mother, your uncle, your brother, and your cousin. For different stories, none of them matching. So now I want to hear yours." That stopped me for a second. "You actually want my version?" "Why wouldn't I?" he said simply. I sighed, leaned back into the couch, and told him everything. From the moment I saw the beach trip messages, to the text from Megan, to the realization that they'd used my account and my money, all the way to the cancellation and Kyle showing up at my door. He didn't interrupt once. Not even when I vented. Not when I repeated how it felt to be left out, or how sick I was of being included only when there was a bill to pay. He just listened. And when I was done, the silence on the other end of the line stretched on for what felt like a full minute. Then, finally, "You were right to cancel it." I blinked. "Wait, what?" "You were right," he repeated. "They used you. They didn't tell you. And when you called it out, they acted like you were the one who betrayed them. That's not family, that's opportunism." I felt something in my chest loosen. I hadn't even realized I was holding my breath. "Thanks," I said quietly. But he added, "They're not going to see it that way. Not for a long time, if ever." "I know. Are you okay with that?" I paused, then nodded, even though he couldn't see me. "Yeah, I think I am." We talked a bit longer. He didn't pressure me to make peace, didn't ask me to call them back or offer to fix anything. Just told me he was proud I stood up for myself. That was more than I'd heard from anyone in my family in years. When we finally hung up, I just sat there, letting the quiet fill the room. It felt different now. Not lonely, peaceful. The next few days were a circus, as expected. The family group chat turned into a soap opera. Passive-aggressive messages, guilt-tripping, and of course, the dramatic victim playing. Megan finally piped up, claiming she didn't think I'd care, and that she only used my account because it was already set up and she was in a rush. My mom asked if I was happy now that everyone's summer is ruined. Kyle sent a string of furious texts about how you always have to make everything about you, which was rich coming from the guy who once threw a tantrum because I didn't clap loud enough at his promotion dinner. I didn't respond to any of it. Eventually, I muted the group chat. A week later, I got a card in the mail. A real card, handwritten. From Grandpa. "Proud of you. Don't let the noise make you doubt your voice. Come visit the lake house sometime. Just you and me. I've got a new fishing rod with your name on it." I smiled for what felt like the first time in weeks. It reminded me of those quiet summers again. How safe and still everything felt back then. How much I missed it. That weekend, I drove out to the lake. He met me at the dock with 2 chairs, 2 rods, and 2 root beers in glass bottles. We didn't say much. Didn't need to. Just cast our lines into the water and sat in the quiet. At one point, he looked over at me and said, "You know, I think you're the only one in this family who's figured it out." Figured what out? That you don't owe people anything just because you share a name. That stuck with me. And slowly, over the next few months, something changed. I stopped responding to their drama. Stopped funding family events. Canceled the old family credit card and let them figure it out. I even took a short vacation of my own, solo trip to the mountains. No itinerary. No forced laughter. Just me, fresh air, and the sound of wind through the trees. A few relatives reached out sporadically. Megan sent a text on my birthday that said, "Hope you're doing well. Miss you." I replied with a simple, "Thanks." Tried to call once, then never again. My mom still hasn't spoken to me since the day she walked out of my apartment. And I'm okay with that. For the first time in my life, I'm not trying to squeeze myself into a version of family that never really made room for me. I'm not funding my own mistreatment, not bending over backwards to be included in a group that only sees me as useful when I'm quiet and paying. I'm just me. And I've finally decided that's enough. No more beach trips. No more group chats filled with fake laughs and real jabs. Just real connections, real respect, real peace, and the occasional weekend at Grandpa's lake house, where, for once, I don't feel like I have to explain why I belong.